thank you for joining us. The recording will be posted on our pre-K menu of literacy support. So if you have folks in your area who weren't able to join us live, you can share that with them and let them know the resources that we've shared. So we're thrilled that you've joined us today as we share and discuss phonological awareness activities and support early development in our classroom and pre-K classrooms. This is our second webinar opportunity from the Office of Early Learning in relation to our pre-K menu of literacy support. In October, we did a session on the literacy foundations for families. So again, that recording is already on our menu of support if you haven't checked that out. If you were with us last month, thank you for returning. We are excited that you're here with us again. Some of the beginning slides today will look familiar to you, but stick with us. We do have new content after initial review of phonological awareness. A couple housekeeping things. One, as we wrap up today, we will be sharing a PDF of the slides that include the activities that we're sharing and the videos that we're sharing. Just wanted to give you a heads up so you knew how many notes you wanted to take and plan for that. And then also, as we wrap up today, we'll be sharing a survey, one, to gather feedback, and two, so that you can earn a 0.1 CEU for today and have an attendance certificate to take with you in the afternoon. I am Jessica Fitzgerald. I am the Early Childhood Coordinator in the Office of Early Learning. And we have several consultants on the team today with us, but my co-presenter today is Holly Lee, who serves the North Central region, and she'll be sharing with you the second half of this afternoon. All right, so our agenda today, we will bookend our time together with a welcoming inclusion and an optimistic closure. So if you've been with us in Office of Early Learning sessions, you'll know that this is a practice that we implement regularly from CASEL to support social emotional health within our sessions. And then we also will be looking at phonological awareness, providing a very brief overview, and then we'll unpack all those components by sharing activities that support that phonological awareness. And we will be sharing some resources with you today. So for our optimistic closure, we're going to engage in the chat box. And we're going to be thinking about phonological components of our names. So you may want to mention how many syllables you have in your name, R-controlled vowels, just different sounds, and you can see that bulleted list there. So an example might be that I am Jessica, so I might type in the chat box that I have 3 syllables in my name, Jessica. So we'll give you a few minutes to engage in the chat box with our welcoming inclusion of what we know your name because it displays automatically, but what's a phonological awareness component that you could use to describe your name. So lots of syllables. 2 syllables are popular. Who else do we have? Oh, another 2 syllables, yes.
It was a requirement to get into the session today. You had to have 2 syllables in your name.
I'm out. Holly, you're taking over. I'm looking through the, trying to find, oh, there's one, Bertha, you could have, yeah, you have 2 syllables and you have an R-controlled vowel, that ER. Alex, welcome. We are we're engaging in a welcoming activity, and we are looking at this name tag and the bullets within this name tag to describe our name using a phonological awareness component. So how many syllables do you have in your name? How many vowels or consonants? Wanda just shared that she had those 2 vowel sounds, 3 consonant sounds. you can keep sharing and keep thinking, but this is just a little activity for us to engage in an overview activity of what our content is today, and also create that learning environment just like we would want to create in our classrooms. So thank you for those of you that participated in that, and you can continue dropping that in the chat as well. All right, so if you were with us for Literacy Foundations for Families last month, or you may remember from your Letters Early Childhood content, there are 3 literacy foundations in early childhood. And those are oral language, phonological awareness, and print knowledge. And as you know from today's title for our session, today we're going to be focusing on number 2, the phonological awareness. And our format for today is going to include a what, why, and how. So the what will provide a simple definition for the focus skill. The why is going to provide the impact of the skill on future reading and writing development. And then we're also going to share the how. And the how is going to be the bulk of our time together today. It's going to describe how we can support each of those phonological awareness components through activities in the classroom. So to get us all on the same page, we are going to do just a quick overview of phonological awareness. So phonological awareness is the ability to recognize and manipulate spoken parts of recognize and manipulate spoken parts of words. So that can fall into different categories. Syllables would be bigger, so book has 1 syllable, reading 2, which you all are familiar with, and then moving into those smaller sounds, so onset and rhyme, or first sound and rest of word, and phonemes. So then we have our why. Why is this important? This is important because our English language, in order to read English, you have to be able to match the sounds in spoken words to the printed letters. So although we're not teaching those young children to read and write necessarily yet, or to write in that manner that looks like adult writing, we can support those skills by supporting phonological awareness. Okay, so if you have a manual, you can jot down the note, or if you have it nearby, you can turn to the page. But on page 101 of the Letters Early Childhood Manual, a chart similar to this is included, and this chart just emphasizes the different types of phonological awareness skills that can be used and supported in pre-K. So rhyming and alliteration, blending, and you can see here that blending can focus on blending and segmenting, actually, starting with those syllables and then also moving into those smaller word parts or individual sounds as well. So let's take a look at this in a video form from Margie Gillis. Does a great job of recapping this information and also sending us into our further discussion about phonological awareness today.
Phonological awareness is an awareness.
And I forgot to mention, this is our quietest video of the session today. The rest of them are louder, so make sure that you have your volume up all the way. I have mine up all the way, but it is a quieter video.
That the words that we speak can be taken apart, and phonological referring to the sound system of language. It's something that we do auditorily. We're listening to words, we're listening to sentences, we're listening to language, and we're hearing it. So it's not about what we're seeing, it's all about what we're hearing. When we talk about phonological awareness with teachers and we teach teachers about that skill, we say phonological awareness skills can be done with your eyes closed, so that they understand there's a distinction between phonological awareness and phonics. Phonological awareness is a broad term that encompasses language in different size chunks, if that's one way to think about it. So sentences can be taken apart word by word. So young children can clap or march to, I like ice cream, I like pizza, and we get them to really be able to take those sentences apart word by word and understand words can be taken apart that way. And then once they get that concept, we can actually get them to clap the syllables in words that have more than one syllable. So elephant, giraffe. And when they can do that, we go to the next step where they have to actually break those syllables down into smaller units. Those units are referred to as phonemes. A phoneme is a speech sound. So every language has a finite number of those sounds. English has 44 of them. And before we even introduce kids to the fact that these sounds are represented by letters, again, at a listening and an auditory level, we want them to be able to take those sounds apart within a word. So for example, the word same. We have the child say same. I have the same color on today that my best friend does. Okay, so we put it in the context of meaning, and then we start with the beginning sound in the word same and stretch it out. What's the first sound you hear in same? And initially, kids can hear that first sound. Once they're good at isolating that initial sound, we then shift them to the final sound. Same. And again, because we're very strategically and explicitly pulling out words that have sounds at the end and the beginning that can be stretched out, we can get them to be pretty good at accurately telling us the sound they hear at the end. From there, we shift to the medial sound, the sound in the middle, in this case, A, right? So same. Again, we can stretch out that vowel sound. So in the word same, there are 3 sounds. It may be confusing, and it can be confusing in some respects, because the word same, again, as a skilled reader, we know there's an E at the end. And a lot of times when we do these activities, a great activity is called Say It and Move It, you'll get a precocious child pulling another chip down, because they'll know there's another letter there. They'll say, no, this isn't about the letters that you're seeing. This is about the sounds that you're hearing. So it's a very important skill. Phonemic awareness is very predictive of a child's ability to be able to read words and decode. So it's an incredibly important skill to teach. And it's important for teachers to understand there's a sequence of doing that, right? From the biggest size of phonological awareness that we talked about earlier to those little bitty sounds called phonemes.
Okay, so Margie just explains that so well, and how those sounds go from how we progress from those bigger sounds and funnel down into phonemes, which are those individual sounds and words. So this is a visual representation of what she said, that we sometimes use in the Office of Early Learning, especially with early childhood letters and literacy information, so that we can reiterate the importance of moving from whole words down to syllables, initial sounds, all the way down into that phoneme level for those individual sounds. So now we're going to give you the opportunity to discuss a little bit about what you just heard, and how that developmental progression relates to your past experience with phonological awareness, what you've used in the classroom thus far to support phonological awareness. And it's going to be really quick, just a few minutes. We'll give you 3 minutes in your breakout sessions to discuss your past experiences related to and thinking about that developmental sequence, and also just jot down any other remaining questions that you have. So it looks like maybe we'll do, oh, I think Holly may have got us started.
I got it for you.
So
I was working on it. I was ready. Okay.
Awesome. So we'll see you back in 3 minutes. We hope that you were able to get into a little bit of discussion about phonological awareness and what your past experiences are. we are going to share some activities with you that are related to phonological awareness, and also following that general developmental progression between those larger word chunks down into the smaller word chunks. So we will get back in those breakout rooms another time today, so you can continue that conversation as well. All right, so we're going to continue our what and why format, but knowing that phonological awareness is probably familiar to you and things like rhyme are familiar to you, we'll do those briefly and spend, again, the bulk of our time sharing those activities with you. So the what rhyming words, as we probably all know, is that those are words that have the same ending sounds. And what rhyme is so important because it often is the first phonological awareness skill that develops, and of course leads to later reading and spelling. So now that we've highlighted that definition and a little bit of the information about why this is important, here are some activities and ways that we can support phonological awareness, specifically rhyme, in the classroom. So we know that children benefit from those playful experiences where they hear a lot of different sounds, and that those playful experiences can result in child-generated, made-up rhymes. And that's okay that the words may not be real. The point is that they sound the same at the end. And made-up words, we always know with young ones, we'll get a few good laughs out of them too, and it increase that engagement. And then highlighting this Louisa Moats quote here at the top, that, and the video hit on this earlier as well, that they do not have to be spelled the same way for this type of rhyming activity. So we may know that they're spelled differently, but the children don't know. And so those words do not need to have to be spelled the same way, but we as readers know that those words may be spelled differently, and the children are really focusing on the sound. So here you can see that rhyming cards can be used, and these can be used in order to partner children. So a child that has a picture of a hat may work with a child who has a picture of a cat, and they would be paired together based on the cards that were passed out. And same with, a child that has a picture of a can could work with a child who has a picture of a pan, and those types of activities. And those same cards could be used for a memory type game where they could, again, practice rhyming words as well and determining those if they rhymed or not. And then we also could be using call and response, super simple, doesn't take up much time, but also increases children's awareness of those rhyming words. Mac and cheese, everybody freeze. You can see the ready, set, you bet. And there are so many examples of that you can find online. So read alouds are another great example. All right, here today I have the little blue truck leads the way, and just thinking of a good sentence that you could pause and let children complete the sentence. Towering buildings scrape the sky. Beep, said Blue. The city is, and children could, especially if they've heard that rhyme before, that they've heard the story read, could finish, the city is high. So that's just another example of how that can be supported in the classroom as well. And then I want to point out on the bottom left-hand corner of these slides, we have highlighted connections to foundations and to teaching strategies goal. So if you're looking for additional connections and how that may work with things that you're already implementing in your classroom, those are some connections you can see. Okay, the next one here is sentence segmentation. So this is an awareness that sentences can be segmented into words, or that sentences are made up of multiple words. And this is orally, again, not written sentences. So when we're talking about this activity, it's important because it leads to later spelling, distinction between when words stop and end, so knowing that there are spaces between words. And as children's vocabulary grows, they're better able to make those clearer distinctions between words. So with this activity, it's a great way to incorporate gross motor and other ways to just incorporate movement into the classroom. And so Here I'll show with my hand a little, our sign for jumping, what we may do for this activity with my mom made muffins. So this is our activity. We may stand up and say, my mom made muffins, and count how many times did I jump? My mom made muffins. And so I jumped 4 times and I have 4 words in that sentence. And so that could be an activity that you do on the screen here to support your understanding of the activity. The words are there, but in an activity with children, you wouldn't include words. So it may be carpet squares or those the seat spots that you could use for children to jump, and they could make up their own sentences as well, especially during a choice time. Another way that this may be implemented is using it as a model in front of the class and allowing children to come up and interact. So this is a video that we're going to watch at the classroom in action.
Today, I'm going to try to trick you because we have another way to use buttons. And instead of buttons, we're going to use some magnets, okay? Yeah, they're all different colors. What's this color? Red, green, blue, black. Oh, good job. You guys are so awesome. All right, 2 greens? Yep, 2 greens and 2 yellows. That's right. Should we put them beside each other? Yeah. We'll just slide them down like that. How's that? Yeah. There we go. We'll put the ones that are the same together. All right. So we did today is healthy snack day. I am wondering if you have another sentence, and maybe I could have a friend help me. Claire, what's your sentence?
Today is Wednesday.
Did we do that one already?
Yeah.
But we didn't do it with the magnets yet, did we? Okay, come here, Claire. You can do this one then. And I love your dress. Oh, here, stand over here so your friends can see. Okay, put your hand up here, ready? You got to say it. Today is Wednesday. Awesome. Way to go. Oswaldo, do you have one? What you got? Come up here, honey. You have a sentence? What you thinking? What did you eat for breakfast today? You ate breakfast, didn't you? What'd you eat?
Cookies.
What? Cookies for breakfast?
I don't like that.
Well, let's see if we can say, I ate cookies for breakfast. I know, that does sound good sometimes. Okay, you ready? Help Oswaldo. I ate cookies for breakfast. You silly. You are funny. You guys are so smart. You know what? We're going to leave this whiteboard up here. And today during Learning Labs, if you want to come up and get the whiteboard and the magnets, you can do that with a friend, okay? How's that sound?
So that's a great example of how she modeled it first. She had the children participate, so they were doing it together. But then she also gave children the opportunity to use that in probably some choice centers, some choice time in order to create their own sentences and practice on their own. And of course, probably with some supervision at first to make sure that they were able to do that independently. Okay, so syllables, we're moving into that hierarchy, making smaller focusing on those smaller units of sound, progressively smaller. So syllables are units of pronunciation organized around a vowel. So syllables are where vowel sounds occur. And then why it's important is that segmenting by syllables leads to spelling. And later in their learning, children are going to learn about the different types of spelling the different types of syllables and how that can support accurate spelling and reading later on as well. So with these activities, we can focus on names to make it meaningful. We know that that's always important with our young learners. So something that is probably most common is syllables and names. Is talking about not just clapping them and saying your name has 2 syllables, but you could also blend syllables. So thinking of, I need a helper. My helper's name is Jackson. Who do I need? And then the children could say Jackson, and be able to incorporate syllables in that way as well. And there are other examples on here that again, you'll receive a PDF of the slides so you can read a little more of those activities. But we want to make sure that we have time to show you a video of, it is a small group activity in a pre-K classroom that is very much game-like and fun. And you can see that these children are definitely engaged as they're practicing syllables with their teacher.
Feed me, said the hungry thing, and the children asked,
What do you want to eat?
I want milk shake.
Milkshake.
Yes, milkshake. When you blend the words milk and shake, you get milkshake. Let's try another one. Feed me, said the hungry thing, and the children asked,
What do you want to eat?
I want popcorn.
Popcorn.
Yes. When you blend pop and corn, you hear the word popcorn. Yes. Feed me, said the hungry thing. And the children ask,
What do you want to eat?
I want a cup.
Cake. Cupcake. Cupcake.
Yes, he's yum, 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 yum. He's eating it all. He ate the cupcake because
So you get the idea there. They're interacting, they're blending those syllables. And that first part of blending syllables, we can definitely use compound words that they're familiar with and use that in an engaging activity for children. So we're going to go back to our breakout rooms, and I'm not sure that they will be the same, but you'll be in a small group. And just think of, when focusing on the word level and syllable level, so the left side of this umbrella, just have some discussion about how this information compares to the support you currently provide. Is it in line with it? Does it give you ideas to tweak or maybe ideas that you could use? And again, just a few minutes. So we'll see you back in 3 minutes.
Alrighty, I think everybody's coming back. We'll welcome you back. Hope you had some good conversation about how you in your classrooms might be supporting some of those early phonological awareness skills around sentence segmenting and rhyme. And we're just going to continue to move on down that hierarchy. And so we're going to talk a little bit about onset and rhyme now. And those are the next phonological skills that we'll explore. And I think it's just a really bad joke that both rhyme, R-I-M-E, and rhyme, R-H-Y-M-E, are both phonological units. I just think somebody was having fun when they came up with the names of these to try to confuse us. But when we speak to that onset of a word, we're really thinking about those initial phonological units of any word that come before the vowel. And the rhyme, the R-I-M-E, right, is that part of the word that includes the vowel and then all the other parts that kind of come after it. So, for example, in the word cat is the onset and at is the rhyme. And so when we think about, however, in like train, the word train, we hear that tr is the onset and then ain is the rhyme. So t and are really two different phonemes or sounds that come before that vowel, but together they form the onset of that word. And so the reason that we really want to work with children on segmenting and blending onset and rhyme is that this is just that one step closer to getting them to phonemic awareness. And so in order to be able to decode, children will have to be able to isolate every sound in a word or every phoneme in a word. So moving, when we think about that hierarchy, moving from words and sentences to syllables, onset rhyme is kind of that next step in the progression. And so touch and say is one of the strategies for practicing onset and rhyme with children. And so the video that we're going to see is in a one-on-one setting, but know that this same activity can be done in small groups. It could be a warm-up activity or even done during your transition times. And so you're going to notice that we kind of have some of the similar materials as sentence segmentation video, but we're just using those materials in a different way to work on a different skill.
We're going to do something called onset rhyme right now. Watch this. This is un. What's this? What's this?
Un.
What happens if I put it together?
Sun.
Let's try this one. Ache.
Ache.
What is it when I put it together?
Ache.
Ache is this part. Watch me. What's this part?
Ache.
So this is ache. Can you say ache? You point to each one.
Ache. Ache.
This part's ache. This part is ache. Watch this. Ache.
For a lot of children, blending onset and rhyme is much harder than blending syllables. And that makes sense, says Miss Farrell.
Syllables are very easy to hear. You can even feel syllables. They have acoustic clues for you. Computer. They break cleanly. When I go and I do sh-ert, I don't really say sh-ert. I say shirt. It's one acoustic clue. Some people's brains just don't get that automatically. Oh, I can break up a syllable into two parts, and we have to teach them.
So one example, and then as you look at our slide here, we also have additional examples, and we talk about how it's really important to keep this playful with our young learners. And so we can think about their interest. In the example you see here, it might be a child that's interested in cars or trucks. And this is an example of an onset rhyme slide. So it allows kids to generate or to create their own slide using, you can use whatever materials you have, a toy car, cardboard, half of a paper towel tube. And then using picture cards or words generated by adults or children, they can start at the top of the slide with the onset and then either release or push or roll their object down the slide for the rest of the word. And so that's one example, right, of that we could incorporate through play or after we've taught how to do it. And then you'll see over on the right side of the slide, we have a rhyme house. And that kind of uses those picture cards to help match rhymes, the R-I-M-E-S. And so if the pictured item has the same rhyme as the top picture, it gets to go into the house. And if not, the picture sits outside. And so when you receive your slides today, we've hyperlinked some of the direction pieces for these activities, and this will be hyperlinked for you. And so I think it's just important, though, as we look at that one, just to remember that when we use activities like Rhyme House, it could be a playful activity, it could be repeated practice, but it's not a cut and paste worksheet or a one-on-one assessment for our youngest learners. So making sure that we're continuing to support that engagement, hands-on activity, and incorporating activities in a very developmentally appropriate and playful way. All right, and so just another note that these activities are great for formative assessment. And so as you see those, just don't forget that these, again, are great opportunities for that. All right, we're going to keep moving on the hierarchy, and we are at alliteration. And so alliteration, it's another phonological skill. And when we are using alliteration, we're either identifying or producing words with the same initial sounds. So she sells seashells by the seashore, right? All those tongue twisters are great examples of alliteration. And so the reason that we want to work on alliteration with young children is, again, that it's another transitional skill to really help them get to that phonemic awareness by isolating that initial sound. So we're getting down to those smaller and smaller units. So they really have to listen for that singular sound at the beginning of the word. And so I think playing with words is a lot of fun. We've talked about that today, that children enjoy these types of activities. And so, you know, to children, humor is often based on those unexpected words. So as mentioned before, made up words bring a lot of joy. Tongue twisters are great. And hearing and generating sentences with repeated initial sounds are also great practice. So you can just simply say a sentence with the repeated initial sounds and ask, what sound did you hear the most? So let's try one here. So I'm going to give you a sentence, and in the chat, you tell me what sound that you're hearing the most. Mary mamboed mighty merrily up the mountain. So if that was our sentence, what sound are you continuing to hear, or do you hear the most? Yeah, the sound, right? So it's all about listening to those sounds. We can certainly sing songs with alliteration. Willoughby Wallaby Woo is a great one that we can highlight both rhyme and alliteration. And I think we have a really quick clip of Willoughby Wallaby Woo.
Willoughby Wallaby Wee, an elephant sat on me. Willoughby Wallaby Woo, an elephant sat on you.
All right, and I'm sure many of us preschool teachers are probably very familiar with the Willoughby Wallaby Woo, and we probably all have our elephant puppets that we used to go around as we sit on our friends. But so another great example of alliteration and rhyming. And so kind of as we speak to that, once kids have a good grasp of both of those skills of rhyming and alliteration, then you can kind of start putting them together and playing some games where kids will have to discern the difference. So you can teach them, you can give a couple of words and then ask them, is that alliteration or is that rhyme? So it means that they're listening for those beginning sounds or the ending sounds. And I think just to note, don't be afraid of teaching kids the big words, right? They're learning so many new words right now that to them, it's just another word. And so when we teach them what alliteration means, it means that it's those beginning sounds are the same, and teach them what rhyme is so that they become familiar with those words and can use them. So again, just some additional activities there to help you support alliteration in your classrooms. And now we have finally arrived to phonemes, right? This is our goal. This is the smallest unit of sound in spoken words, phonemes. And so, for example, when we think of the word bat, bat has 3 phonemes, b, a, t. So being able to segment that word down into its individual sounds is the one goal that we're really trying to get children to. And just remember, phonemes are sounds, not letters. So I want to pause right here. And I know that we had some activities earlier at the hello where you gave your name and you were looking for some phonological components to it. Now I want you to think about your name again. And I want you to count how many phonemes are in your name. You can drop that in the chat. So breaking your name down, E. I have 4 in my name. How many do you have in yours? Jessica has 6 in hers. 5. Since the E is silent, oh, that's such a good. So remember, phonemes, we're really listening for the individual sounds in your name, right? So it doesn't correspond to the letters. So Alex, well, yours is really tricky, Alex, because you have an X. And so an X is actually composed of 2 different phonemes because makes what that X represents. So X is a really tricky one. It was tricky, yeah. So phonemes are the sound, but I think this, just as us, as we're sitting here thinking about our names, it really speaks back to that video that we just saw, that this is not a natural thing that we do. It's just, it is something that takes work, and it's something that requires, a lot of teaching and a lot of support to be able to break those words down into their individual sounds. It is definitely a challenging skill for our ears. So thanks for participating in that. And so just thinking about too, right, if we can phonologically, just speaking a little bit more to the why. So if we can phonologically break down words into their individual phonemes, then as we begin to learn which letters or which graphemes represent those phonemes, then we can kind of begin cracking that code. And so, for example, we'll go back to bat, 3 phonemes, b. And I know that b is represented by the letter B, A is represented by the letter A, and T is represented by the letter T. So I begin to put those things together as I begin to decode and learn to read. So that's why it's really important for kids to be able to get down to that phonemic level and being able to isolate those individual sounds. And so as we think about the different types of activities that we have or that we can do to help support them, here are a couple of examples. Sound bag and then see it and sound it. And so, for example, sound bag, we might be just focused on an initial sound. And as mentioned earlier, back Margie, I think, talked about it, the initial sounds are going to be the easiest for children to grasp first. And so that's a great place to start. It's also where alliteration lives, right? That initial sound. And so for this example, you might have some items in a bag, and you would also have some corresponding items on the table. And as you pull one out, they say it, they hear the first sound, and then they look for another object that would match that or that starts the same way. And so those activities there are really similar, and you can make them more complicated. So we would start with the first sound, and if we're doing a really great job with first sounds, then the next one we move to is the final sounds in words. And then the last place that we would move would be to the medial sounds. Those sounds that are in the middle are the most challenging for students. So start with the first sound, go to the final sound, and then back to the middle would be the progression that we work on hearing the sounds or really focusing on those individual phonemes and words. And then on our next slide, we have just one more example of an activity there. We see the sound train. And it's really kind of similar, right? Each of the different cars on the train represent a different sound. That could be the initial sound, as an example, if that's where we're starting, and that would be the most appropriate for our preschoolers. And then they would have additional objects or additional pictures, and then they decide which car on the train they go to based on those similar phonemes that they have, if you're looking, for example, at the first phoneme. And then I think the main thing as we think about the phonemic awareness and where our kids really are at this preschool level is we always want to advocate for developmentally appropriate practice. And so when we think about that here, verbally blending, separating, adding, or substituting individual sounds in simple CVC words is not developmentally appropriate for children in pre-K. These skills often develop during kindergarten after children verbally blend and separate onset rhyme in one-syllable words consistently. And so that comes from Gold, and it kind of talks about what we should developmentally expect. However, we do know, though, it's really important for you as preschool teachers to know where kids are going. Knowing what those skills are going to be when they land in kindergarten and what they're going to be working on. Because the chances are as well that at the end of your preschool year, you might have some kids that are ready for some of these more advanced tasks. But it's important to kind of know where we go and how all of that phonological awareness, all those skills under that umbrella, kind of where we're going from start to finish with them. And so Break It Down is another great activity. We can do it. It's Apple Toast Kids on YouTube has a video of this. In the sake of time, we are going to keep moving today, but it's a great way to just kind of have a rhyme, and kids can do the head, shoulders, and toes for the different sounds. So if they were doing the word dog, you can have them repeat dog, and they would be like d, ah, g. And so they're breaking down different words. It keeps it active and multisensory. And so when we talk about phonemic awareness, it is really important that we are reflective practitioners about how we are pronouncing the phonemes. Accurate pronunciation is really important for children to hear. And we're going to check a video and just to hear a little bit more about that.
Hi, I'm Yvette, a facilitator at the Rollins Center for Language and Literacy. You probably already know the English language has very distinct sounds, or phonemes, that we combine in different ways to make words. In this video, we are going to demonstrate how to pronounce each of the individual phonemes. Often, we accidentally add an extra or schwa sound to the end of consonants. If students hear this and imitate it, it may then be reflected in later reading and writing tasks. To prevent this, it is important to produce only the phoneme itself without any additional sounds. An example of this is the sound p. Sometimes, when teachers are trying to emphasize or isolate a phoneme, they say p. Instead, focus on producing just the phoneme itself. We'll start with the consonant phonemes. You'll see the associated letter or letter combination, also known as a grapheme, on the screen as I say the sound. Ready? Here we go. B as in banana. D as in dinosaur. F as in fish.
So this is a great video, and I will say that sometimes you are not conscious of how you're saying the phonemes, and so it's really important if you have an opportunity with like your colleagues to kind of either go through this video or say them for each other for feedback to make sure that you're saying them the correct way, because you're so attuned to your voice and your dialect that sometimes you may not pick up on your own pronunciation. So that is also in your slide deck as a resource. And so we're coming to our last breakout room for the day. And this time we kind of want you just to really think about onset rhyme and phonemic awareness. Do you do these things in your classroom? Have you found some activities today that you think you could incorporate? We'll take about 2 minutes just to have those conversations. Thanks, Jessica. Alrighty, welcome back. So lots of activities in there for you today. We are going to close with one more piece of content, kind of show you the resources and let you be on your way today. This is a quote from Louisa Moats, and I'm just going to kind of summarize it for you here, but I do want you, if you have a chance, to go back and read it when you go to your slides. But really the key takeaway is that like phonemic awareness is that ultimate goal. We want to get kids there as quickly as we can while also being very cognizant of their developmental level. The goal is to get them to those individual sounds. And big takeaway is we don't want to get stuck, for example, on rhyme. So example, rhyme is a really important foundational skill, but not all children are going to get it. You don't have to wait for kids to get rhyme in order to be able to move into syllables. You can go ahead and continue to move and dabble and experience in each of these skills on the hierarchy. It just means that you've got to keep going, even though, say, the rhyme isn't coming along. Don't stop your instruction there, just keep moving. And so that's kind of the biggest piece, again, with the ultimate goal that we want kids to get to that phonemic awareness. And so as we've promised today, we have created a couple of resources for you today to support your phonological awareness work in your classrooms. The phonological awareness related teaching strategies resources here, that kind of has pulled out all of the different Mighty Minutes and the intentional teaching experiences and the development and learning activities that are very specific for the teaching strategies goal objectives that have to do with phonological awareness, which is 15A, B, and C. So that is a quick reference tool for you if you're trying to find activities to work on phonological awareness in your classroom. And then we also have a PDF of today's slides. So Jessica's dropped those in the chat, but also know that all the links will work in that version as well, so you have that. We do want to mention that this is not our last webinar. We have a whole series coming with our preschool menu of support. And with that, we encourage you to go ahead and register for February, for the February session, which will be all about letter knowledge throughout the day. That is included in your slide deck, linked there, and Jessica has also dropped it in the chat. If you need help or support, know that you have an OEL consultant that is assigned to your part of the state and is always happy to talk through some of these pieces with you. And then we also have a request. If there is if you happen to be a building administrator or a center administrator, there's also a request that you can support that can we can come to you and kind of shape and design support that will be tailored to your group. So we'd love to chat a little bit more about that. And with our optimistic closure today, we just want you to drop in the chat ways that you can support or incorporate phonological awareness throughout your day in your classroom moving forward. So what's one new idea that you might be taking with you as you return to your classroom? And I'll encourage you to go ahead and drop that in the chat. And as you are dropping your ideas for how you can incorporate some new activities in your day, yeah, lots of activities are great for transitions. Good idea, Karen. A lot of these are quick and simple. On the screen now, you can see that we have a survey here for you. So we would love to hear your feedback so we can continue to help improve or help us improve as we offer webinars and support to the field. And you will also get your CEU link after you complete this survey. So with that, thank you so much. We encourage you to keep dropping those ideas in the chat for others to see as they hop off today. Jessica and I will stay on for a few more minutes. If anybody has any questions, you're welcome to come off unmute and we'll be here for you. But other than that, we thank you and we wish you well for the rest of your day.
Thank you all for joining us today. Hope we see you in February.